Very much welcome to this session about leadership in uncertainty. We have 1 hour booked for this theme. And my name is Eva Jaakonsalo. I come from a company called Andas Ltd. And my agenda for today, or our agenda for today, looks something like this. I plan to first talk shortly about the situation that we all are facing right now. And I'm going to use the framework of the VUCA world in describing that. And then as we have entered this VUCA world now, at the same time, we have the kind of a very core need to feel safe, to experience safety in our lives. And that has been shaken or taken away from us now in this pandemic situation, which leads to our minds going into alert mode. And then I'm going to talk about what we as leaders or managers or team leads can do in order to build or rebuild the feeling of safety within our teams and within the people that we work with. And then I'm trying to bring also some very practical tools for day-to-day leadership, meaning things to look out for, things to say, things maybe not to say, and so on and so forth. So hoping that you will gain also some tangible takeaways from this session as well. Feel free to comment and ask questions. You can also use the chat box for questions, but I can't follow the chat box as when I'm presenting. So the questions in the chat box I'll take them towards the end of this session. But if you have something you want to ask directly, just please say it out loud so I can respond to your questions. So this would be the agenda, and let us get started and first talk about the VUCA world that has become our current reality. And the acronym VUCA stands for those 4 words there, and this model or this framework was actually first developed in the US military, in the leadership of the US military in the 80s and 90s, when they wanted to create a model that would describe the ever-changing context that they were working in, and thus became the VUCA acronym and the VUCA model for the needs of the US Army, leadership in the US Army. But then that model was kind of stolen into other leadership and management trainings as well. So you have probably heard very much about VUCA leadership and leading in the VUCA world. And I myself, as a leadership coach and trainer, have also used that as for framing kind of leadership trainings, for example. But never have I actually, to be honest, never have I really understood what that means in real life, so to say, until now. Because now this VUCA world has become all of ours reality. It has come right up on our faces, and we are living this in this new normal, if you like. And the 4 letters stands for, the V stands for volatility, meaning that there is continuous change and speed. The speed of change is also changing. And there are changes in all kinds of systems and environments, be it social, technical, biological, political, now in our healthcare systems and in our global trade and everything is changing right now. U stands for uncertainty, meaning that there are so many question marks that it's impossible to predict the future. We don't know what's going to happen. There are so many things playing in here that we cannot know where this is going to lead. And there is always new surprises kind of coming in and playing in. C stands for complexity, meaning that there are so many factors, multiple factors affecting each other. So it's like a huge complicated spider's web, if you like, and there are so many connections and causalities and interconnectivity, interdependence, and so on and so forth, that it's really hard to keep track of what comes first and what then. And A, ambiguity, meaning that things are, even with data, even with information, we still don't have any answers. Things are unclear. So for example, now with the virus situation, we have a lot of data from all countries around the world, but the data is not comparable because different countries have taken different measures, and there are different ways of measuring, and they are their populations are different and their healthcare systems are different. So even with data, we still have a lot of questions open and we have to make assumptions. And having more data does not necessarily make us any wiser. So this VUCA world has now become not only the problem of the military or our business leaders or our politicians, but of us all. Actually, you and I and everybody, we all are facing this reality in our ordinary, normal lives. And at the same time, when that happens, we just long to feel safe. Our basic emotional, mental need is to feel safe. And that feeling of safety is built on three elements. The first one of those is predictability, that we are able to predict the future and prepare for it, that we understand that these decisions lead me to that direction and these decisions to that direction. And so we understand how things are going to develop, predictability. A second part of feeling safe is autonomy, being able to make autonomous choices over our own lives, having influence over myself and my surroundings, deciding what to do, making choices and so on. So being an autonomous subject in our lives and not an object or a bystander in our own lives. And then thirdly, the feeling of togetherness, that I am not alone in this, that we share this experience and we share this humanity and we are all part of this together. And these are our core elements of feeling safe. And now these specific elements have been taken away from us due to the pandemic. We have no predictability. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow or the day after or next week, next month, next year. We don't know how long this will last. We don't know what's going to happen next. So we have no predictability. We have less and less autonomy because we can't decide upon many of those things that were, kind of obvious for us previously, where we wanted to work and how we wanted to travel and whom we wanted to meet and where to shop and how often to do the groceries and so on. And now we can't. We have less and less autonomy over our everyday lives. And right now, when we would love to be close to our near and dearest ones the most, we can't. We have to have this social distancing so that we, well, luckily we have these virtual channels, but it's not the same. Hugging somebody over Teams is not the same as doing that in real life. So would this be almost any other kind of a crisis, a global crisis, be it, environmental crisis or even a terror attack or whatever, our natural reaction would be to seek the company of our nearest and dearest, to be physically close and to hug them and to be together, to share and to make sense of what happened. And now that is precisely what we cannot do. And it's not only us, but it's everybody. It's our families, our friends, our colleagues, our fellow citizens, and our fellow human beings in the whole world that are experiencing this same lack of feeling safe, lack of safety. So this is a global, common experience that we all are experiencing right now. And as that happens, as we are now facing this VUCA world and our feeling of safety is disrupted, what happens is that our minds go into alert mode, meaning that there are different levels of these alert modes in our minds. And the first level, the yellow one, level number one is, well, actually it's not, our minds are not in alert mode there yet, but it's more an awareness of the threat, an awareness of that there is an enemy existing somewhere. And this was the case maybe, in January or February or something, that we knew that there was this virus somewhere here yet. So it wasn't really upon us yet. And you can compare this, if you compare with the animal world, out there in the savannah, antelopes are eating grass and minding their own business, fully aware of the fact that there are lions living on the same savannah as well. But right now, the lions are not here. The lions are asleep. So the antelopes can eat grass and be calm. But they are aware that the threat is existing. So that's level number one. Level number two then is when the threat comes a little bit closer. It comes somehow to my surroundings. And this happened in Finland somewhere February, mid-March or so, that we started to understand that, okay, now there are, somebody that I know knows somebody who has caught the virus, or somewhere in our organization we have heard that there is somebody who has fallen ill, or in the school where our kids go, there's somebody, or, so it comes closer to your life and your community. And this is already now an alert mode, meaning that it affects our thinking and our prioritization and our decision making and our behavior. And a very good example of this level 2 behavior is, you might remember that there February, March, there was this phenomenon, not only in Finland, but in many countries, that people started to buy toilet paper in huge amounts. And that's actually just a signal of level 2 behavior, because by buying toilet paper, we were trying to build safety, meaning that even if there is no other predictability, we cannot know what's going to happen, at least I know that my family will not run out of toilet paper, that this is something that I can plan, and this is something that I can count on, that by buying this toilet paper, we will be safe for 6 months or something. So it gave us some predictability. It was also an autonomous act. When I went to the store and came home carrying those toilet papers, I was actively doing something and influencing my own safety and my family's safety, and not just passively waiting for what's going to happen, but actively being a subject in my own life. And it was also something that we shared together. We felt that we were together in this, and maybe even people who had not planned for buying toilet paper, but going to the stores and seeing those shelves becoming emptier and emptier, still then bought some extra toilet paper, because it's safer to be in a group than being outside of it. And this comes from the Stone Age already, that it has always been safer to be a part of the group, of the tribe, than being outside of it. Because if we were outside of the group, we were an easy catch for the enemy. So that's why we want to belong. And we know from brain scanning that if we feel excluded, if we feel that we are left alone or excluded or somehow outside of the inner circle, the same areas in the brain are activated as when we are feeling physical pain. So it's a very kind of full experience, both physically and mentally, to be alone, not belong to something. And that's why we want to share. And that's why it was safer to behave like everybody else, even if we, with our rational minds, thought that, well, I have toilet paper at home, I'm not going to run out of it, but still it's safer to be part of the group. So what seemed like a little bit silly behavior was actually not silly at all, but on the contrary, it was a level 2 behavior where we tried to recreate the feeling of safety out of those building blocks that we had, because our normal, ordinary life building blocks have been taken away. Well, then at least toilet paper, that gives me a feeling of safety. So it's kind of, from a psychological point of view, it's quite rational. And then there is level 3, when the threat is on myself, when I have caught the virus, or be it coronavirus or just an ordinary flu, but that I am physically threatened, or I'm feeling ill, and that is when the threat can be really real and be on myself. But now in this moment, most of us are still not there. Most of us are still healthy and okay, and we haven't caught the virus. On the very contrary, we are kind of taking all possible actions in order to not to catch the virus. We are isolating ourselves. We are working remotely. We are not traveling. We are not meeting anybody. We are washing our hands. So we are taking care of not ending up on level 3 physically, but our minds can be there nevertheless. The minds can be in alert mode even if the body is not. And this is completely human. It happens to all of us, because if we are, say that you're having a bad day, if anybody has ever had a bad day, or you haven't been able to sleep very well, or you're really stressed over something that you need to get done or so on, it's easy that your mind starts to go on red alert, so to say. And then again, if you're having a better day and you're relaxed and there are kind of positive news about the virus and so on, then you descend back to level 1 or 2. So it's a constant movement between these levels. But now what I'm trying to kind of message here is that it's good to know where we are. It's good to be aware on which level I am and how can I help myself to move between the levels. And as a leader, what to do if my team members are on level 3. How can I as a leader help my team members to come back down and come away from the red alert zone back to 1 or 2. And that's what leading in uncertainty actually is. And one more thing about this, because whatever we experience, be it now say that somebody is really anxious over this virus situation, but as well it could be in another phase of life that we are really happy over something or excited over something or whatever we are experiencing. The experience always consists of these 3 things, regardless of what the experience is. We always have thoughts in our mind, and it's natural. It's okay to think. We're not trying to say here that you shouldn't, silence your mind and everything will be fine. No, but we always have thoughts in our mind. We always have an emotional tone present. Previously, before this pandemic, at work, we weren't so aware of our emotions because it wasn't so emotional. I mean, work is work, or then you could be happy or excited or something, but that's it. But now in this situation, many of us have stronger emotions and are more aware of our emotions and more driven by our emotions. And the emotions often are of a negative sort now more than previously. And then we always have our body with us in all experiences that we have. But now if we are, say that, I'll take anxiety as an example again, that somebody in your team or yourself is very anxious over the whole situation and our future and what's going to happen and how long will this last and so on. This experience is like a snowball that starts rolling like this, the snowball of anxiety, and it rolls faster and faster and faster and gains more weight and just becomes bigger and goes like an avalanche finally, because you're just so anxious and you are in the snowball experiencing it all and not knowing what's up and what's down and just trying to survive in this all anxiety. And now what we can do is not to pretend that the anxiety would not be there or try to resist it somehow or try to solve it somehow, but more to just pause the snowball from rolling and take a look. What's happening when I'm this anxious? What's happening in my mind? What thoughts are there in my mind? What does this anxiety consist of? What emotions am I feeling? Can I name the emotions that I'm feeling? And what's happening in my body? And you might notice now in this picture that the thoughts and emotions are colored with red, but body with yellow, because often the body is safe. The body has not fallen ill, and the body is, inside the safety of your home and so on. So the body is actually in the here and now safe, but the thoughts and emotions are worrying about the future, for example. And when the snowball goes like this, it all looks red. You can't tell apart the different colors if you don't stop the snowball from running. And that's why you need to learn to, okay, what's happening? What does my experience consist of? Can I take a look? Can I get some distance to my thoughts and to my emotions and notice what's happening in my body? And through that, become better at experiencing whatever I am experiencing. So if I'm anxious, I already am. Things are already as they are. You cannot just take away the anxiety, but you can help yourself experience that by learning to use these mental tools, if you like. Just checking the time, yeah. So, and what to do then as a leader? How can we now help not only ourselves, but our team members to do this? And there are a few things that we can do as leaders. Actually 3 things from a psychological point of view, and they are called labeling, coping, and focusing. And I'm going to go through those one by one. And labeling is actually what I just explained. Learning to recognize and regulate our thoughts and emotions. So basically being aware of this triangle, if you like, or this framework, that whatever I'm experiencing, can I pause the snowball and observe what's happening in my thoughts, what's happening in my emotions, what's happening in my body. And we can also invite our team members, for example, to do that. So if you notice that somebody in your team is panicking or restless or something, you can ask them that I see that you are uncomfortable. Can you tell me what's on your mind? What are you thinking? What are the questions in your mind, or the main concerns that you're having? And can you name the emotion that you're feeling? Because immediately when we name an emotion, it becomes easier to experience. When we chunk it down to smaller, more kind of tangible, so it's not just panic or anxiety, but it's that I'm afraid, or I'm worried about my parents, or I'm feeling alone, or whatever. Name it to tame it. Whatever we can put words onto, it becomes easier to experience. So you can ask your team members, and you can always also, if you don't know what else to do, you can always bring the attention back to the body, asking, for example, that how have you been able to sleep, and you know, how's your blood sugar? I don't know, but kind of trying to bring the people also from their thoughts and emotions into the here and now. That, okay, maybe you should, take a rest, or just, take a walk in the fresh air, and let's see then how to proceed with these questions, or whatever. But especially thoughts and emotions, the more we are able to help people to label them, the more we are helping them. And you can really do that by asking them to put those into words. And you don't need to be afraid of this, because you might think, somebody might think that if I'm going to ask my team member what they are feeling, and then they, pour it all out, I can't help them. I can't take away their worries or their sadness or something. I don't have any solutions. But you don't need to have, because the solution is that the person learns to label it, learns to process the emotion. Also, you don't need to be afraid of, opening a Pandora's box. And I ask this small question about emotions, and then, there's so much behind it that there's no end to it, because there will be an end to it. But emotions have, and this is regardless of Corona, regardless of anything, emotions actually have only one objective, and that is that they want to be heard. And that's why labeling is so helpful, that we help ourselves hear our own emotion and recognize our own emotions. Because if we don't do that, they will be shouting harder until we do. So it helps to label them. And especially if you are doing it as a team leader, for example, or a manager, and you ask your team member that, please, can you tell me what you're feeling? Can you describe me your feelings or something? And then the team member does that. Well, first of all, you are a safe sounding board somehow, that you are there and you are present and you are able to, just be there and let the person, ventilate, make sense around what they are feeling. And that's already helpful. At the same time, as they are saying out loud what they are feeling, they are kind of producing the experience, so that as it becomes words, it comes out of their system. So it's not just me within the anxiety snowball, but I'm putting words into it, meaning I'm observing my emotions. And in that moment, I understand that I am not my emotions, but I am the feeler of my emotions. And I'm not my thoughts, but I am the thinker of those thoughts. So we reach a metacognitive level, meaning that we're able to think that we are thinking, and that's helpful as such. And additionally, when we hear ourselves saying those words, they come in again through another sense, meaning our hearing sense. So the data is processed over and over again. So we are actually helping people with data processing, really. So it's not just, raw data that you can't make any sense out of, but it becomes processed data that you can then observe and kind of actively choose how to proceed instead of just trying to react and survive within that snowball. So labeling is one thing. And then another thing that we as leaders can do is coping, meaning that we can help people to adapt to the new reality, because this is now our new reality. This is going to last for a while, and it probably will get worse still before it gets better. So we need to adapt to this situation. And there are two forms of coping strategies: adaptive coping strategies and maladaptive coping strategies, meaning good and less good, bad strategies. And good coping strategies are, for example, these. I've divided them into two categories: thinking and talking, meaning on a mental level, and then activities on a practical level. So the first one of those good coping strategies is labeling, what I just described to you. So that's the number one, key to cope with this situation, to understand what you're feeling and to observe and to put names and words onto what you are experiencing. And then also expressing emotions, be it in talking, writing, drawing, painting, dancing, running, whatever. What is your way of expressing your emotions? It's always helpful. Also putting things into perspective. This is of course huge that we are experiencing right now, but we all have also other things in life, and there are things that have not changed, and there are things that are positive in this. So finding perspective in even in these times of crisis. Accepting the situation, planning for the future, prioritizing, and so on and so forth. And a very important thing, having self-compassion. Because if we are, for example, worried, and then we add self-criticism that I shouldn't be feeling like this, or there must be something wrong with me, or nobody else is this worried, why am I, and I shouldn't be like I am, it only makes it worse. So being compassionate, being kind and loving and accepting towards ourselves is critical right now. And on an activities level, I'm sure you all have already heard many times that we need to, keep our daily routines and schedules and take care of our, that we sleep enough and we don't stay up too late and we eat healthy and we exercise and so on. So ordinary, good daily living habits, of course, are part of good coping strategies. But then also looking up information, keeping yourself up to date, but kind of restricting that to the facts. So not drowning into every news forum that you can find, but seeking information for the amount that is needed in this situation. Talking, making sense with other people, being together. Now, what are the ways of being together as we cannot be, physically close to each other? And then, if needed, also seeking professional help, be it, the HR or your occupational health care or whatever, but understanding when you need external help and having the courage to say it, preferably earlier than later. And for somebody, it can be some other form of help, spiritual help. It can be art or music or the church or whatever. But understanding that we do not need to kind of manage this on our own. No one of us has to. So these are the good adaptive coping strategies. And then the maladaptive coping strategies are basically the opposite, meaning that we, instead of being able to label, instead of being able to, come out of the snowball and observe it, we remain in the snowball. So we kind of, we feel that we are drowning in it, and we are just kind of dwelling in the awfulness of it all. And it can take different forms, that we are self-pitying or complaining or ruminating or avoiding, facts, or so on and so on. And then, of course, the opposite of self-compassion is then self-criticism, or blaming yourself, or in its worst form, self-destructiveness, so that we have no means of being kind to ourselves and take care of ourselves. And this can then take different forms in activities as well. For example, that we become helpless or unproductive, or isolate ourselves, that we don't seek contact with other people and we don't participate, and we're just, we are alone, both kind of in practice and mentally. And then different forms of escapism being, for example, overeating, heavy drinking, gaming, drowning in your social media, or in this pandemic case, especially continuously indulging news. So that you stay up in the evening and just read all the news that you can get, and all the new numbers of different countries and death rates and this and that and so on. And that's actually quite a danger for many of us right now, because it's so, at the same time, we want to know what's happening, but we need to be able to restrict that as well. And this is, by the way, my number one coping strategy, positive coping strategy, that I have decided consciously that I do not read the news anymore in the evening. And I have to take that decision every evening over and over again, because it's so easy to grab your phone and check the websites, the news websites or so on, or the television is open and you hear the news. But I noticed that I started to have difficulties falling asleep, so I have to protect myself. So instead of taking in any news in the evenings anymore, I watch Netflix, or I read a book. That's my favorite pastime. Or then we have a puzzle with my children, so we lay the puzzle. So actively deciding not to read the news. And you really need to make those active decisions in order to kind of every day choose the adaptive coping strategies. And what we then can do as leaders or as supervisors, what comes to coping, of course, I'm not suggesting that you would, go home to your team members, which we can't even, but so to say, go home to them and check what time are they going to sleep, and are they eating a healthy breakfast, and what websites are they now surfing on, and so on. Of course, we can't do that, but we can discuss with our team what would be adaptive coping strategies on a team level. What are our good ways of taking care of each other, our routines, our daily schedules or weekly schedules, and that we are sharing and doing this together, and so on and so forth. So and information seeking and sharing and so on. So adaptive coping strategies also on a team level is something that we can do. And on the other hand, if we are aware of those maladaptive coping strategies, how could we be mentally present and open for signals of those with our team members? So how can we notice if somebody is kind of falling to the dark side, so to say? And what are the signals for that? And that we need to kind of figure out on our own. But for example, say that you have a morning meeting with your team every morning or so, and there's this one team member who always is late, or who looks like that they haven't been able to sleep, that they look exhausted in the morning, or that they never want to open their video because they don't want to see you, they don't want you to see how they look and so on. Or you have your team's coffee break in the afternoons and this one person never joins, or if they join they never say anything, or that it seems that they are not producing what they should, and they have these excuses for why it's not happening. And so those might be signals of that person having less good coping strategies, and how can we then be there as early as possible to support them. And that's something to think about. And actually, well, if I had direct answers, I would give them here right now. But one thing is something that is called psychological safety. Now I'm talking about individual safety in this presentation. How can we build the individual feeling of safety within ourselves and our team members? But then there's also psychological safety, which is kind of happening within a group. So how the group is, and is it safe? Does it feel safe to be yourself in that group? And that's probably something that the more psychological safety you have in your team, the more able people are also to bring forth problems, or bring forth, that they are exhausted, or that they are afraid, or whatever their own human experiences. They can be authentically who they are if there is psychological safety in the group. And then the third one was focusing, and meaning in this context that it's okay to focus on your work, and you're allowed to steer the work, because what brings you together and even to this session is your role in the organization. So we are here in the context of work, and if you are a leader or a team lead manager, you are there and your people are there in the context of work. So it's totally okay to steer focus on that. And we know, again, from human behavior that focusing on work relieves the pain. Because when we focus on work, we actually create, again, small elements of safety, because most often we have some predictability in our work still. Even if everything would have changed, we still have some elements that we can predict. So there is some predictability in our work. We have autonomy. In most of the cases, we can make choices over our work, and we have a feeling of togetherness because we are here together as a team doing this, but that we are doing. So focusing on the work gives us kind of a permission to feel safe, at least in that context. And for those hours that I'm working, I have this mental experience of being safe. And to conclude, or maybe to bring this to a more kind of practical level, I have put together a list of things to do. The heading here says mission first, people always. And that's actually the kind of the dual role that we as leaders and managers have to have now, as actually basically everything that I'm talking about here has to do with leading emotions. And even if we maybe have not been that, that big on leading emotions earlier, now we all need to do that, because emotions are now present in a much more kind of central way than ever before. So we need to have mission first, and that's what brings you to work, the mission of your work, and what brings in the money, so to say. And that's always first, of course. But then we always need to have people first as well, because without the people there is no mission. So we need to carry these both aspects in our leadership now all the time, and have them in parallel all the time. So we need to be steady and decisive and show direction. And then we need to be supportive and be present and be empathetic and be authentic and allow everybody to be authentic. So yeah, not maybe the easiest of tasks, but doable. And how to do that then? Well, first of all, speak. Communicate, communicate, communicate. Tell your team what you know. Stick to the facts. What are the, the changes that have been made, the effects of this on us, and the new guidelines, and so on and so forth. But now here, I mean, by telling what you know, that tell what you know, what comes to your work. You don't need to give an update on the virus to your people, because that information they will look up anyways. So it's not your role as a team lead or as a leader to keep them updated about how the virus is developing. But instead, what's happening in your own organization, what's happening in your team, how is this affecting our work, and so on. So tell everything you can. Tell also what you don't know, because that's also information, that we don't have any guidelines on this yet, or we are waiting for more information before making a decision, or this and that. Because that's also, you know, the more you can make implicit things explicit here now, the more informative it is. And people long for information right now. And if they say that you're having an information session with your team today at 2 o'clock, and then you say that these are the facts that we have now, and these are the things that we don't know yet, but I will have an update again, you know, on Friday at 2 o'clock, and then I will, you know, give you everything that I know at that point. That gives people predictability, that they know that, okay, now I'm up to date. I can do my work with this information until Friday, and then I will be updated again. Come Friday then, and you have no news. Nothing has changed. You have nothing more to share. Tell them that nothing has changed. These questions are still open. These rules apply, and so on and so forth, because that's also information. Then people feel again that, okay, I'm again updated. I'm not left behind. There's nothing I should be aware of, because this is the situation, and I will be updated again then and then. So again, I have predictability. So the more you can help people read between the lines, the better. And then there is this sentence, clear is kind, unclear is unkind. And that is stolen with pride from Brené Brown, a researcher around leadership and courage and vulnerability. And this is one of my favorites of her quotations, meaning that if you need to deliver bad news or unpleasant news or difficult news or whatever, be clear, say things as they are. Just say it, don't sugarcoat it, don't give it in small pieces, or don't try to, you know, make it sound nicer than it is. Because the clearer you say it, the kinder it is for the receiver. Because then again, they get predictability and autonomy over the thing that I now understand what's going to happen. I know it's going to, for example, if there are layoffs in an organization, say them as they are, because then people can start to predict for the future. How is this going to affect me? But if it's just, you know, a common, you know, uncertainty, there's no way of kind of starting to plan for the future. So being clear is actually kind. It's not harsh, it's kind. And once you then have told and informed and communicated everything that you can, well, then listen. Then just zip it and listen. And listen to understand, not to respond, because you don't need to have, and maybe you don't even have a response or solution to everything. Especially if it has been somehow negative or, you know, unsettling news, people need to be able to process that. And you are the kind of the ball plank again. You are the calm in chaos, that they can process what they have just heard. And if they don't feel that they are listened to, that they are that somebody hears their thoughts and their concerns and so on, the same will happen as happens with emotions. They will shout harder. Not maybe, you know, like this, shout harder to you, but in some other ways they will not, you know, let go of the things before. And it's human. We all want to be heard and seen. And if we feel that now this person does not hear me or doesn't understand what I mean, well, it means that I have to, you know, say it so many times that they understand. So that's why it's important to be able to just sit there and listen. It's not nice always, but it's the task of a leader. And then once you have listened, once you have allowed people to process whatever that is, then it's okay to steer the conversation and start helping people to put that experience into words, meaning labeling, so that they don't remain in the snowball. They need to first be there a little while, but then help them stop the snowball and start putting it into words and into perspective and finding, you know, smaller chunks that you can attend to. So you help them to descend from level 3. And always also trying to bear in mind that often the worries and concerns are about the future. So at least one way of chunking it into smaller pieces is what's happening right now. Where is our safety in this moment, and what can we kind of, stand on when planning for the future? And of course, if there is direct gossiping or panicking in your team, it's okay to stop that. And somehow, put that into words that this is not leading us anywhere. This is not helpful for any one of us. Let's try to keep our focus on the work. And that's the next step here. So ultimately, you are there to lead the work. So it's okay to keep the focus on work and its objectives. And the more you can remind people of the continuity of work, the longer perspective, the more that again gives safety, that there is a future, there is a tomorrow after this as well. And bringing forward successes and small wins even now. Of course, if there are successes what comes to this acute situation, that you have managed to solve a problem or create a new service or solution or something, bringing those forward. But as importantly, if there is something that is business as usual, that is running smoothly as it should and has not been shaken by this or that's worth celebrating, because that again gives safety, that this we can predict. This goes like a steady train no matter what, and we have autonomy over this process and we are doing this together. So bringing that forward as well. And then being available for your team, especially now as we are working remotely, as I'm guessing most of you also are. So how can you still be a part of your team even if you are on distance and being physically apart but mentally close? And a very important question here is to ask yourself is that where are you needed the most? What means in your team, what does it mean that you are available? In which channel? At what time of the day? Every day or when? How? Do you have a open office virtually for your team members, or do you have set times when you are available, or how are you available for your team, and where are you needed the most? And that's an important question to answer, depending of course on your team and the kind of work that you do. And then finally, take care of yourself, obviously. And notice if you are on level 3 and how can you help yourself with the help of these tools, for example, to descend to the lower levels. And now, especially as we are now leading emotions, it's quite natural that those emotions come under your skin, if you like. So when you are off work, allow yourself to be that. It's easy that we are so empathetic and so compassionate that we worry about our team members' worries on our free time. But now it's important to be empathetic and compassionate towards yourself and give yourself the permission to let go of those when you are not working. And there are tools for that as well. And I'm going to give you a practical tool for that as well, so that you take care of both your physical and your mental well-being and recovery. And I have now here a poll that I would like you guys to answer. It's just a short poll. Now, thinking back to that list that I just went through, what do you find most challenging for you right now? And this is anonymous, so you can just, tick a box and then we'll see the results. So if you could just share what you find the most challenging right now. So let's see. I'll share the results with you then, but I will have to first wait that we get enough answers. %62% have voted now, so we'll wait a couple of more, maybe 20 seconds and see what we get. Okay. Thank you. Almost all have answered now. I'm going to end the poll because I have to close it so that I can share the results with you. So I'm ending it now and then showing the results. Can you see them now? Are they visible for you? Can somebody just tell me if they're, because sometimes they don't come up immediately. But yeah, okay, good, thanks. So, quite an even division here, really. Steering the conversation, leading the work, being available, taking care of myself, all got 21% of the voices. So actually this was, sometimes there has been one that has been a bit more kind of a winner over them, over the others, but really, truly, this also shows that it's not that easy, and we all have our own things that we need to focus on. And why I'm sharing this list is that we would become aware of all of these facts, and then kind of help ourselves to notice that where can I maybe be a little more decisive, where can I give myself a little bit slack, and so on. So the more we are aware of things, the more we can do something about them. But if we don't even think about those ones, then there's nothing to do. Especially, I would of course like to emphasize the taking care of yourself part, because that's kind of the key to everything else. Because as a leader or a manager, you're supposed to take care of other people. So please do start with yourself, because it's kind of like putting the oxygen mask on yourself first, and then help your co-passengers. So because if you are not rested and kind of feeling mentally balanced yourself, it's not easy to take care of others and be available for others either. So please do prioritize your own well-being as well. Thank you for participating in the poll. Okay, we have now 8 more minutes. So I'm going to have to continue here. I have one more kind of slide about this how to lead, especially now distance work. I'm not going to go through that in any more detail. You can read those lines there, but the last one, treat others as they want to be treated, not as you would like to be treated, but as they want to be treated, because in this moment that is of high importance. And you can't know without asking them. But now, of course, it's dependent on the size of your team, obviously, but if possible, try to ask them, each and everyone individually, that how can I help? How can I best support you? What kind of support would you like to have from me as we are working on distance and we can't see each other on a daily basis? How often do you want to be in touch? Should I call you at some certain time every day? Or do you want to send me an email where you put together what you have been doing, what your to-do list or something? Or maybe not daily, maybe just Mondays, Wednesday, Friday, and so on, so that they get to choose how they want to be supported. And that gives as just one kind of thing to do, it gives a huge amount of safety to your team members. Because first of all, it gives predictability, that I know that my boss will contact me, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 1 p.m. or something. So I can predict, and I know that this is going to happen. And I have been able to affect that. So it was my decision. So I have autonomy over how I work and how I am supported. So it also gives autonomy. And then a feeling of togetherness, that we have planned this together. My opinion counts here. I'm being taken care of. And even if it's Tuesday or Thursday and nobody calls me, doesn't mean that they have forgotten me, but that's because I wished so. It was my choice, and I know that they are there and I can contact them if I want to. So this small thing actually gives a lot of kind of elements of that safety to your people. Okay. And then finally, one more thing. I've been now talking about a lot of things that we can do for our mental well-being, but there are also tools that you can kind of continue this training on your own with. And we have this mobile application called Andas Life, which is basically a mindfulness training program that has been developed pre-pandemia already for people who are under stress, distress, or burdened, or exhausted, or burnout, or depressed, or so. In times before pandemia, for example, in working context for people, with too much stress. But now we all are facing those things quite a lot. We all are stressed, and we are burdened, and we are insecure, and we can feel feel kind of depressed from time to time. So this program actually is very suitable for all of us. And even if you would not feel anything of those, it's still good because it's you know, training for your mind. So you will get access to this program. And it's really a training program, and the training gear that you need is a phone and a headset. And you will, as you have enrolled to this webinar, you have also enrolled to the program. So you will get an invitation, an email with all the instructions how to, you know, download it and install it and log in and so on and so forth. And as you then the first time open the application, there will be a starting survey asking questions about your focusing and your sleeping and your stress management and so on and so forth. Your answers will not go anywhere. They are just there in the architecture of the application so that it can create your own training program. And the training program then is from 30 to 60 days. There are 6 pre-tailored modules, out of which those are activated that are relevant for you based on your answers. One module is 10 days. You will get at least 3, at the maximum 6, and that's why the program length is something between 30 and 60 days. And I've opened this managing stress module here just to show you what it consists of. There are 2 kinds of files, excuse me. Exercises for the mind, and those are the core of this program. They are audio files, so you need to, you know, push play, put the headset on, sorry, and listen to its speech. So it's focusing exercises, concentration exercises, also called meditations, but that's training for your mind. Then there are also find out more videos, which are, well, short videos where I tell the background, the theory behind the exercises. So those you can watch once or twice, but the main thing are the exercises for the mind. And now as one module is 10 days, you have 10 days to use these exercises. And then of course you will do these 3 exercises several times during those 10 days. And that's totally fine. Because just as if you are, you know, practicing your physical muscles, you need to make the same movement many times in order to grow the muscle. This is the same thing. You can do the same exercise many times in order to grow that muscle of labeling, for example, or observing, or letting go of your thoughts, or being self-compassionate, or whatever. So repetition, repetition, repetition is the key here. And then after those 10 days, a next module will open, and then you do those exercises. The previous ones do stay open for you as well, so you can always go back, and if there's a favorite, you can do those as well. So we warmly invite you to install the application and start using it, because it helps. I guarantee that it helps you in this situation, and it's, you know, 5 minutes a day, and you will start noticing the difference within a week. So that finally, that both this session and the exercises that you do for your own sake would then kind of radiate from you to the people that you lead, to your team members, to the people around you, so that they would feel that you see them and that you trust them, that they can be their authentic selves, and they are seen and heard, and that they are not left alone, but that you are there with them. So that you could be an emotionally intelligent leader for your people. And also that you would feel this kind of coming from yourself to yourself as well, that you see yourself and you're present and hearing yourself as well, and taking care of yourself. Thank you.